I lost in the 2009, I think it was, US Open doubles semifinal. Anyway, I see Rafa, he's doing like 65 interviews for TV after he lost. And I'm like, yo, Rafa, because, I've had a few, so I'm a little chatty. And I go, hey, Rafa, sorry about your loss. And I put my arm around him like this. I go, bad luck, man. And he goes, and he puts his arm around me and he goes, see, for you too, no? And I was like, yes, I am also a loser today. All right, everybody, welcome to the French Connection, brought to you by NBC Sports and Racket. We are covering the tennis from the French Open all the way through to the Olympics in Paris, and very excited to bring it to you and everything in between. And of course, it's not only me, but it's your guy, Sam Querrey, as well. Sam, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm at my friend's house recording today. I got some construction at my house with jackhammers and trucks, so I'm down the street recording, so it's a little different vibe for me.
Yeah, it's okay. I was going to forgive you for not making your bed, but it's clearly not your bed. It's your friend. So we'll give him a hard time for not doing that. Yeah. So, all right. So, Sam, let's get to the burning questions, my friend. Round one of Roland Garros, the French Open, is over. As of tonight, we just saw Novak Djokovic win. But before we get to Novak, let's talk about the biggest story, really, at the French Open thus far. Is it the last match we are going to see from Rafael Nadal? He lost in straight sets to Zverev. Just first of all, your thoughts on what you saw from him, what you felt when you were watching him, what you felt after the match. Just give me all the details.
He played great. He lost to Zverev, who's one of the favorites to win this tournament. Rafa, although it was straight sets, it was 3 competitive sets. He was in there. He was up a break in the second set. But at the end, when he lost, and we've still got that kind of question mark: is he going to play again? Is he not going to play again? Rafa doesn't know. As a fan, I want the closure. I kind of said that in the last podcast. So I honestly don't know. I'm not swaying one way or the other if he's going to play the Olympics or play another tennis match. I hope he does at this point. I think last week said I want him to finish it at the French Open, but because he doesn't know, I do want him to have that kind of final moment where he knows this is the last match of the last tournament. And I want the fans and the world to also have that moment where they know this is it. This is the last time we're going to watch him play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listening to him doing the post-match interview, it was kind of like, what's he going to say? He did not get emotional, which I thought gave a bit of a telltale sign that this is not the end for him. I think also, Sam, I don't know about how you feel, but I felt like because he played so well, I mean, the dude was up a break serving for the second set. He was up a break in the third. I thought it was the best tennis without question that I've seen him play since he's come back from all these horrible injuries over the last couple of years. I think that was part of him during the match going, wait, I've still got something in me. I know I don't quite have it quite enough yet to beat, literally, as you said, one of the favorites to win the French Open in Zverev, having just won the tournament in Rome. He probably is. I mean, I already said it. I think he can get to the final. I don't think he's going to win because I think he's going to, I think he chokes like when it really counts. But
Right.
But I just thought that Rafa was just outstanding in the match. And I think it gave him a little bit of life to think, okay, I can come back for the Olympics. He mentioned he would like to come back and play the Olympics in Paris, which is great news for all of us. But overall, I thought the level of tennis was fantastic from him.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that level is going to be 75, maybe 85% of the players in that French Open field. And so if he was going into that match thinking, oh, this is maybe the last one, maybe not, even though he lost, I did think it gave him some confidence to kind of say, you know what, there is a little more left in the tank. And moving forward 2 months to the Olympics, it's 2 out of 3 sets. It's a little bit easier for a guy in his position. So, and he also might want to go out and play some doubles with Alcaraz, who's not only one of his best friends, a fellow countryman. So that could be a special moment as well. So I do think that match, having lost it, sparked a little bit of a second win for him to keep going.
Yeah, because listen, we all said that there's no way he's beating Zverev. I mean, Zverev is just playing too well over 5 sets too. Rafa hasn't had enough tennis. And as you know, Sam, a lot more than I do, playing best of 5 is not only physically just so difficult, but mentally, you have to go. And when he got down those 2 sets to love, we saw him still try and fight. He was up a break again in the third. And then sadly, he couldn't get the job done. But you think with a little bit more tennis under his belt, he wins a match like that. And I would never have said that a week ago. So I think him going into Paris, like you said, being best of 3 sets, I'm going to say right now that if he stays healthy and he keeps putting the work in, I don't think he's going to play at Wimbledon. I think he probably will stay on the clay. I think it's better for his body, frankly, and his foot. I think he'll get enough tennis now. Hopefully he can play some practice matches against really good players. I mean, what are your thoughts about him maybe coming back in Paris and actually doing really quite well?
A little bit of it depends on the draw. Can he avoid playing Zverev, Alcaraz, Sinner, these guys in the first round? But if he gets a favorable draw, wins a couple matches, gets a little confidence, and like I said, it's 2 out of 3. No one wants to see Rafa on the clay. And I think Rafa, too, at the French Open, he lost to Zverev, who's a little bit of a villain, I think if he wants to go out, I personally don't think he wants that last match to be against Zverev. I think he would rather lose that last match to someone else. And at this point, I think the world and everyone wants him to be at the Olympics. It's back at Roland Garros, and we want to see one last little boost of excitement on the clay from him, which hopefully we get.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted out a couple of things, and one of the things I put on my Instagram was when he did that great jump in the air and he pumped, big fist pump to his people. I was like, oh, I'm going to miss that so much, because the thing about Rafa is that, for me, I don't know about you. I mean, it was probably a nightmare playing against him when he was doing it, but I always felt like every point mattered, and you saw the greatness of him with. Look at the people that were out there watching him play. I mean, Novak was out there, Alcaraz was out there, Iga Swiatek was out there. I mean, Alcaraz and Djokovic, I was surprised. I wasn't surprised to see Iga. She had just won. She said she wanted to go watch him. Iga's like his biggest fan, and he is her idol. Alcaraz, you probably thought was going to be out there, but I was surprised to see Novak out there. Were you?
I actually wasn't. I mean, there have been such amazing rivals, and I do think they're friends as well. And I think he's just showing respect to Rafa. Novak's in the same boat as the rest of us. He doesn't know if that's his last match or not. And if it was his last match, I think Novak would have regretted not going out there to watch one of his greatest rivals, if not his greatest rival over the years. And so I think it was a really kind of touching moment that Novak went out there and watched it. And we'll see if Nadal keeps playing and he's at the Olympics playing. I don't know if Novak's going to go out and watch him again. He's kind of now watched that final one, but it was really saying something that those 3 players were out there watching. It's a pretty special moment.
I think Novak was probably thinking, thank God it wasn't me out there first round, because he's not playing that well. And he didn't look great today, but you probably think he's like, having nightmares about the amount of times that he's lost to Novak on that particular court. So listen, I'm just hoping he comes back in Paris. I'm hoping, like, you cannot imagine that we see him and Alcaraz playing doubles together. If you had a choice, Sam, of who would watch you in your last ever match, who would you want sitting there watching it?
I'm assuming we're talking tennis players. I'm not going to say the obvious and then be like, I want Serena and Roger. I'd want all my friends. I'd want Steve Johnson, John Isner, the Bryan brothers, Marty Fish, James Blake, Andy Roddick. I just want all those guys in the box with me, all the guys that I was on the tour with for a decade, watching me, cheering me on. And that's how I'd want to go out. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I was trying to think about who I'd want, and you're right. That's exactly who I would want there as well. I would want all my friends on the tour that I've, had so much fun with, and they become our friends. And that's the thing, as you're out there 10, 15, 20 years, including juniors. And these are people that you get to know, and you're just so happy to see them again. Although I did play one match one time when Martina Navratilova was down one end of the court and Chris Evert was down the other. I kid you not, in Japan. And I was playing singles. And I thought to myself, are you kidding me right now? I am so nervous. And thank God it's one match that I actually won. But growing up, they were like 2 of my idols. So to have them sit watching me play a match. Do you have a quick a Rafa story that you want to put out to people?
Yeah, I would say my favorite Rafa story. It's not so much a story about Rafa, but the first time I played him was the Cincinnati Masters Series. This was 2006. I was 18. Played him first round. I was in the locker room, and I was actually chatting with Andy Roddick, and Andy liked to kind of joke around a lot when he was playing. And I remember he said, "Hey, if you win a set, if you put your racket between your legs and do like the bowl dance all the way to the chair, I'll give you $500."
Come on.
And so I'm playing Rafa, and 18-year-old me, of course I'm not going to beat Rafa. But sure enough, I'm playing Rafa, and we're in the first set, we're in a tiebreaker. And then all of a sudden I'm serving in the tiebreaker 6-5, and I start thinking in my head, like, oh, if I win this point, should I do the bowl dance and get $500 from Roddick? I end up winning the point, and I chickened out doing the bowl dance. I think about it every day since then for 15 years. But I remember that was the first time I played Rafa. I actually won the first set off him, then quickly lost the second, third set. But it was a really funny moment.
Oh, Sam, that's a great story. I can't believe you didn't do it. It's so unlike you. Come on, you're a guy that's had a horse head on his head. Come on, this is like
it was like my third tournament I'd ever played. I didn't know what to do, and I was scared, but I wish I had done it.
You didn't want to go down like that. I have
Exactly.
My one story about Rafa. I love him so much, but I lost in the 2009, I think it was, US Open doubles semifinal. I was up a set and it was like 2-2 in the second. We had to come back because it rained. We had to come back the next day and we ended up losing. And Rafa also lost that same day. And so, as you know, after you lose, you got to go into the bathroom and do the old pee test, right? For the drugs, for the drug test. And so I couldn't go, and I'd had a couple of beers, and, I was out of the tournament. It's the last Grand Slam of the year, and I was just chugging down beers with some friends. And then, and then all of a sudden I was getting a little wasted. I hadn't eaten anything. So I'd had like 2 beers and I was already like, ah. Anyway, I see Rafa, he's doing like 65 interviews for TV after he lost. And then we got up at the same time to walk to transportation at the US Open. And I look over and I look at him and I'm like, yo, Rafa, because, I've had a few, so I'm a little chatty. And I go, hey, Rafa, sorry about your loss. And I put my arm around him like this. I go, bad luck, man. And he goes, and he puts his arm around me and he goes, see, for you too, no? And I was like, yes, I am also a loser today. It was just like,
he's the nicest guy.
It made me love him so much because I'm like, wait, you took an interest in knowing that little old me, lost a doubles semifinal and you actually knew I lost. And that to me told me so much about him as a person. I just love him so much.
And it's weird. You can have little moments like that in your life and it'll make you a fan forever. The smallest little interaction with whoever in life, and you're a fan for a lifetime.
Yeah. I was like, did you guys see that? I was like drunk, like dribbling all over Rafa, and he's like, "See, for you too, no?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but you haven't had as many drinks as I have." But hopefully, he did later on.
Just like adorable.
But also, just real quick on him, just an anecdote about him as a tennis player. Just real quick, the Australian Open that he won against Medvedev, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He was down 2 sets to love. You were probably watching the match, down 2-3, looking like he was down and out, dead gone. Take him to the knack, like put him out of his misery. He's down love 40 on his serve. He wins 1 point and he pumps his fist and he's like, vamos. And I was like, as a player, you and I would have thought this, dude, you're done. Like, why are you getting so excited about like winning 1 point? You're still down love 40. I mean, he was fired up, Sam. And guess what? He wins the game, wins the set, comes back and wins the match. And you know what that tells me about him? That's what is Rafael Nadal in a nutshell. He never, ever gave up on 1 point in his entire career. And hopefully it's still not over, but that's what I will always remember about him as a player. Grit. Unbelievable.
And I think everyone that played him remembers him that way. If he played 10 million points, he tried hard for 10 million points.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say and you could probably say this too, there's plenty of points where you're receiving the opponent's up 5-2, 40 love, and like, I'm going to miss his return in the second set. That is not in Rafa's DNA.
No.
And I've said this for a while, and I truly believe this. I think Nadal is maybe the greatest warrior or fighter in all of sports.
Yep.
Soccer, tennis, football, basketball. He's just incredible, the fighting spirit he has every second he's on the court.
Yeah, and I don't know if you ever practiced against him, but that's the one thing that I always tell people. If you want to see something, go watch Rafael Nadal practice, because you've never seen a more intense. He reminded me so much of Steffi. Steffi was the same way. From first point to last point, it was 100%. It wasn't 95. It was 100%. And that's why they played the way they did. The same way from the first point to the last point. And that, to me, he just is the greatest competitor I've ever seen. And he just never, and that Australian Open is the epitome of him, because there's no way he had any business winning that match. And he did. And even when he lost his serving for the match, you remember, and he said in the press conference afterwards, he said, I thought, I'm going to lose another Australian Open up a break in the 5th. He actually said this out loud, and he'd done it twice. He did it once against Novak and once against Rafa, against Roger. The upper break in the 5th, he lost the match both times, and he remembered in the press conference, he said out loud, I thought I was going to do it again, but I said to myself, he threw the ball back, he double folded to lose the game, and he threw the ball back and he gave a little bit of a nod of his head like this, and he said in the press conference, but you know what I said? I said, I'm going to try now for every point, and he has to beat me, and he ended up winning that match. He's just, if you could get in the head of a professional tennis player like that, knowing, you just think he's always positive, but no, he's not. He actually thought, I'm going to lose again. You would never think he would think that way. And he does, but he never gives up. And that's the difference.
No, and one more quick story. I remember I'm going back maybe 2008, 2009. I only practiced with him one time, and it was at Miami. I remember my coach David Nankin at the time set up a practice with Rafa for 2 hours, maybe the most miserable 2 hours of my tennis career. Sweating everywhere, just hitting the ball as hard as you can. I remember walking off the court looking at David saying, "Never book me a practice with Nadal again." That was absolute hell right there. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. My body is cramping. I probably went out and lost first round. It was just like overwhelmed after the practice for 2 hours.
Well, there you go. There's 2 or 3 or 4 great stories about Rafael Nadal and why you and I respect, and I think he has the respect of 100% of the tennis players in the world. All right, let's talk about another player that should deserve as much respect as Rafa has had, and that's Novak Djokovic. He comes into this tournament playing let's face it, he's having the worst year of his career. Hasn't won a tournament this year. He loses early in a lead up 250 coming into it to Marshak. Wins today in straight sets, but still not looking great. And on the opposite end, Jannik Sinner looking great. Just your thoughts on both of those two guys.
I think I had mentioned it last week talking about Novak. He hadn't won a bunch of matches really. Didn't win any tournaments. Lost to the opener in Geneva last week. I still thought he was the favorite before the tournament started. I was like, he'll play his way in. He'll look great. But after watching him today, I know he won in 3 sets, but I don't think he looked particularly great. And now I'm worried about him. Now I don't see him as one of the top 2 or 3 favorites. He just looked a little off. He looked a little slow. Mentally, he kind of looked frustrated at times. And so if he's going to win this tournament, he's got a week here to kind of play 2 or 3 matches and figure out a way to lock in with his game mentally or whatever's going on. But, at the moment, he's got some things to figure out in his mind. And then on the flip side, like you said, Sinner's only played 1 match. He played Chris Eubanks, who's a American, big serve, big ground strokes, tough guy to play, but took care of him in 3 sets. And Sinner looks good. Sinner's the best player in the world, I think, right now in 2024. And he's coming in with confidence. He could be the guy to beat at the moment at the French Open.
Yeah, I mean, listen, someone asked me yesterday, who do you think is going to win? And honestly, I don't know. It's the first time I can say in the men's, I really don't know who's going to win. Look, Sinner is not super loves the clay. He plays very well on it because he plays well on every surface. But, and Alcaraz is a little bit injured coming in here, a little bit unknown. How's he going to do? He did look very good, though, yesterday or the day before. But I tell you what, no, I don't know. I agree. I don't think Novak looked well. He did not look good today at all. He's got a whole entire new camp, the new coaching. I don't even know who's coaching him right now. He's hitting partners now. He's manager. It's like managers are gone. His coaching crew are gone. You look up to his box and you're like, who are these guys? So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of questions certainly to be answered for Novak over the next few days. But as we all know, if he gets into the second set, if he gets into the second week, there's no question that he's probably goes in as the favorite if he gets there because he just knows how to do it. 24 times? Come on, ridiculous.
Right, exactly. But the bigger story, kind of like you said, like on the men's side, I don't know who to pick at this point. It's 10 to 15 guys. I wouldn't be surprised if the guy, seated between 10 and 20 kind of has like a breakout tournament and wins the French Open. It's such an open field right now on the men's side, which we haven't had in honestly 20 years.
Yeah. And, Sinner and Alcaraz are in the same half. So, he doesn't have to take out both of those guys. And we know how that was when it was like Rafa and Novak or Rafa and Roger. One of them had to, beat each other up to get to the final. So that's what's going to happen.
Big difference.
And, arguably you could say that Alcaraz and Sinner are the 2 favorites, really just based on the year that they have. And of course, how well they play on clay, especially Alcaraz. But anyway, somebody who doesn't necessarily play great on clay, but had a good, tough 3-set win against a true clay courter is Naomi Osaka. She beat Bronzetti. Bronzetti's had some good results on clay. Naomi comes back and wins 7-5 in the third and now has to play against the favorite of the women's draw, Iga Swiatek. Talk about a popcorn match. But just Naomi Osaka, we remember a couple of years ago, she pulled the pin on the French Open because this is where all the mental health conversation started with her in the press. But to get through this match, she's in a very different place mentally now, being a mom. But what are your thoughts on Naomi?
It's great to see her back. I mean, it's been a couple years now. and not only have her back, but to like battle through that first round. It's cool to see her fight through some adversity and pull out a tough 3-setter. Unfortunately, she's rewarded with Iga Swiatek in the next round, which is a little unfair. And I know you said it's a popcorn match. It's not a popcorn match. Iga is a heavy favorite in that, but it's still a really cool match on paper. It's going to be an awesome match for the fans to go watch tomorrow. You know, you've got two huge names playing in the second round, and I hope Naomi comes and plays well. I hope it's a competitive match and we can all enjoy it.
Listen, I'm going to say that this is going to be more competitive than we realize, and a lot of reasons for it. I think Iga's going to be very nervous. She knows that this is probably going to be her toughest match for a while because a lot of the seeds in her section of the draw, some that give her some issues, are gone. They've lost. So in her section of the draw, it's become very wide open for her, even though technically against everybody, she should win. But Naomi's she's a little bit different, right? We're talking at a huge server. So if she serves well and gets her serving to hit her spots and can crush the next ball, Iga's movement clearly is going to run down a lot of those. But I don't know if Iga doesn't serve well. If I'm Naomi, I'm going into that with zero expectation. I'm going in with zero pressure, and Iga is going in with all the pressure and all of the expectation. So I don't know. I mean, she doesn't play well enough on clay or move well enough on clay to really threaten someone like Iga, but you just never know. And she's beaten Iga before. So I don't know. I think it's not going to be as easy as everyone thinks, but look at this win consecutive matches now for Iga Swiatek. I mean, she's starting to climb into that echelons of, a Justine Henin, who was so dominant at the French Open and many years ago, but Iga Swiatek, we've already mentioned, just so good on the red dirt in Paris. But this is going to be a more interesting match than I think you do.
Yeah, I think Iga's going to win it, but it is one of those weird times where you've got someone in Osaka that has been number 1 in the world, multiple Grand Slams, and there's no pressure on her. So if she can swing out and swing free and connect on some early, it could be a match, but. I'm definitely, I think Iga's the heavy favorite, and you see the stats we're putting up here. She's trying to join, I think, Monica Seles, who won 3 French Opens in a row. We got Chris Everett, who's won back-to-back and then made the semifinals a couple times, and up here she's now tied Justine Henin with her matches, with her consecutive matches won at Roland Garros. So she is the Rafael Nadal on the female side right now, and she's playing incredible.
Yeah, it's I remember Henin so well. And they kind of remind me a little bit of each other. They're a little introverted, a little quiet, but my God, the movement from Henin on the clay court was so unreal. Very much like Steffi Graf. The one person that didn't move like tremendously well on clay was Monica Seles, but Monica just dominated so much on that surface. So yeah, you're right. We're talking about getting into the upper echelons of Henin, Seles, Chrissy Everett, like players that just love. And as you know, Sam, when you love a certain surface, you just get to it and you just play so well. Somebody that she might have to play up in the final, and they've played each other a couple of big finals this year already, clearly in Madrid and Rome, is Aryna Sabalenka. And Sabalenka had a pretty comfortable win over the younger Andreeva sister. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about Sabalenka. I don't know what you thought about her tennis, but she looked very comfortable out there. I mean, do you think that she's the player to beat on the bottom half of the draw?
I do. It's maybe a little, look, we're 1 round into this event. So I need to see another round and maybe a third round. But yeah, I think right now she deserves to be the player to beat in the bottom half. And coming in today, it's a first round match. She looked good, 6-1, 6-2. Watching the match, she dominated from both sides of the court. I mean, and the 3 games she lost were games, honestly, she lost on errors from herself. So she's maybe the biggest hitter on the women's side, and a match like this is going to give her a little confidence going to the next round. And so I can't say yet, but I do think she is the player to beat on the bottom half right now.
Yeah, I think because of her ability at Grand Slam level over the last couple of years, she sort of stumbled at the semifinals for a number of years, and now she gets going. But let's look at the average forehand speed. That is ridiculous, okay? Because Jannik Sinner smashes the forehand. We have to.
No, it absolutely does.
Let's give a little bit of context here. there's no question that Sabalenka doesn't pull anything back. Like, she hits it every time as hard as she can, whereas Sinner's probably rolling a few, bang, right? So explain to people at home, maybe that's part of this, but still, that's incredible.
It's still a stat that you rarely ever see. And I'd love to see this stat after the second round and the third round to see if that, if that holds. And even I'm sure over time, Sinner might increase his pace, Sabalenka might come down. But if she's within 5 to 10, miles an hour or kilometers an hour, that's impressive. And she's hitting the ball so much harder than her female counterparts right now. And she can go out there and overpower the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's sort of live by the sword, die by the sword with Sabalenka. Sometimes I sit there watching her, and I put my coach's hat on, and I'm just like, oh, why that shot? You don't need to hit it 100 miles an hour, like down the line when you had the whole line open. You could have just rolled it in, but she has to smash it. And sometimes I'm like, why? And then she'll miss, and then she'll hit 2 or 3 back to back, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
Right,
so
yeah.
I don't. For me, that would be a really hard one to coach. But anyway, all right. So somebody that was also a little bit hard to coach right now, and she has had a coaching change. A little backstory. I was, contemplating that situation and was asked also to maybe work with Maria Sakkari, but she had a coaching change. David Witt, they had a great start. Indian Wells made the final, but she's struggled a little bit since then. And another, I think this is her 4th in 5 Grand Slams she's lost in the first round, and this is not a good loss. Gracheva has moved on from being Russian to French. She's been training in France for about 7 years now, so she's kind of feels very French, and she's changed her flag to be French. So she was playing a French player, but Sakkari losing, I mean, that's not a good loss, and just she looks so, I don't know, anxious on the court. I mean, Sam, listen, if you're up a set, you tell me this. You're up a set, you go 4-all in the second, you're down 15-30 on your serve. She hits a good serve down the tee, it's 30-all. Now you are in control of that match, right? You're in control of the game. You're in control of the match at this point. And she screams after winning that point, come on, like as loud as like, yeah. And I was like, calm down. I was like, why are you letting you, all I see there as an opponent or as a coach is go, oh, there's anxiety there. I'm still in this match. Like, would you ever in your mind react like that?
No, you're absolutely right. It's almost like she's trying to scream her way through the match or force some energy that she doesn't have. And you're right. It's an anxiety driven kind of come on. And she struggled. I think I saw at the Grand Slam, she's 7-9 in the last 9 Grand Slams she's played. And it's for someone who's, been in the top 10 for a handful of years. She's on the Netflix, though. She's got a cool look. She's so likable. Fans want her to do well. They're cheering for her. And it's, I feel for her right now because I know at this point, it's probably something she's thinking about as well. She knows her record at the Grand Slam and how poorly she's done. And the slams is kind of where you make a name for yourself. So, she's got to sit down with David Witt and they've got to get her in the right mental space for Wimbledon and the U.S. Open and then for 2025 because she's proved she can play well and win tournaments at the levels below the slams, but she's got to step up and get some big wins and make some runs at these Grand Slams.
Yeah, and I mean, I want people to understand, like saying "come on" is really important. Is to let your opponent sort of know that you're in this match, you're focused, like Rafa does, or Novak, or anything. But you've got to be selective when there's a time that you let them know you are here to play, right? But when you hit a serve down the tee to go 30-all up a set and 4-all, it's just like, yeah, routine. I'm going to win this game, and then I'm going to break you. Like that's the way I would think mentally. You might be, I can't say the word on TV, crapping yourself, basically. I mean, you have to let everyone know that you're in control. And that's what frustrates me about watching her is that she just never looks like she's fully calm and in control of the situation. Much like I feel like Novak has to get to. He doesn't look like he's sort of walking out there with his shoulders back like, yeah, remember who I am? I'm the best in the world. He's looking a little bit like, oh, gosh, unsure of himself. So I don't know. We'll see where Maria goes. But if I was coaching her, I would implement more of a slice backhand. Because she does not like to hit her backhand down the line. And there's times where she's in trouble and I can see she wants to change direction. She tries to hit the backhand two-handed down the line on the dumbest times. And I'm like, just slice it down there. If you want to move the ball over this side, change the direction with a slice. But anyway, that's a whole different story. 2 guys that you've probably played against more times than definitely me is Stan Wawrinka, and Andy Murray. Stan looked great. He just crushed Andy out there. Do you think there's a last run in Stan?
No. I mean, I run. Maybe we can make the third round, fourth round. He looked great. I'll give you that. But I think Murray made him look good too. Murray's one of those guys right now. He doesn't have a lot of pop on his ball. He's just kind of massaging the ball around, and Stan is just stepping in, just going after these backhands. Like kind of Murray made him look like 2016 Stan Wawrinka. But it is cool. It is cool to see him out there. It's cool to see Wawrinka and Murray, and you've got Monfils, and you've got Gasquet. You've got these guys that have been in the game for 17, 18 years, and they're still battling. But it's a tough first round. Both those guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame. Stan got the best of Andy here. I hope he wins another match or two. I hope he's competitive. I know he loves the French Open. But I don't know what you thought. I don't think he can make a run, but it was fun to see him out there.
Yeah, come on. I love Stan so much. And I mean, as a one-handed backhand player, we just need to see that one-hander for just at least 2 or 3 more matches. And if he gets going, the crowd.
I hope he proves me wrong.
I hope he proves you wrong too. I should have looked to see who he played in the second round, but maybe someone can tell us that. But let's hope he can have a bit of a run for the old guy, because he's the oldest one in the tournament, I believe, on the men's side that's left. So that'd be great. And you mentioned Gasquet and Monfils. How great was it to see those 2 French players just battling it out there? 2 great guys. I mean, Gasquet, talk about one of the great one-handers, and then Gael. Monfils had a great win on center court last night against Zverev, or however you say it. That was a really good win against him, because that guy can play. That's for sure. But poor old Gasquet, he gets to play center next. Sorry.
I know, it was a great win. I was actually looking up Gasquet. I was like, I feel like Gasquet has played the French Open 20 times. I think I saw he got a wild card in 2002. So he's missed it 2 years, but I believe this is his 20th, maybe 21st French Open. But it's especially fun to see Gasquet and Monfils, because they're guys that the crowds love them forever. They're French players. They act French. They play French. They engage with the crowd.
What does acting French mean to you?
They hit, Monfils wants to hit, play entertaining shots. Sometimes I feel like he's willing to sacrifice games and points to entertain the crowd. And Gasquet, on the other hand, doesn't necessarily do that, but he's got that beautiful one-handed backhand. He kind of plays in a style that I feel like the French crowd kind of relates to and likes to watch. And so it's fun to see both of them kind of have one. I don't know if it's one last run. They haven't announced a retirement, but it's fun to see him out there winning matches. And he plays center. Gasquet plays center in the next round, which is going to be tough. But Gasquet played great at the French Open for, like I said, 20 years. And if he plays all right, he can make that a fun match.
Yeah, he'll make it a fun match, but he's going down in straight. But Monfils, he looks, that guy can beat anyone on any given day. If not the best athlete we've ever seen play tennis. And just by the way, Stan plays Pavel Kotov.
That's all right. I'm taking Stan in that.
There you go. See, we still got him for a little while. There. Come on. Another oldie that won a match as well on a surfer that's not really known to win is Kei Nishikori. He won his first Grand Slam in 3 years. I mean, that's insane. We know he's been injured. He's had to deal with all of that. But to win 7-5 in the 5th set, talk about earning it. My gosh. Way to go, Kei.
No, it's great. Like you said, we haven't seen him in 3 years. He's had some terrible luck with injuries, but to come at the French Open, having not played a slam or a big match in 3 years, and win a 7-5 in the 5th, that's I
wonder how he's feeling today. I wonder how he's feeling today.
Yeah, we'll see how he does in the next round. But he's got an incredible 5-set record. He's 28-7 right now in 5-setters. It's the best record amongst active men that are playing. So I don't know what it is that Kei could do mentally in the 5th set, but whatever he's doing, he's done it incredibly well over his career, and he's got a tremendous 5th set record.
Yeah. How many times did you play Kei?
I'm kind of guessing. I feel like I played him 6 times, and I was probably.
Tell me his favorite, the best thing that he does.
He can go forehand to forehand or backhand to backhand with anyone. He's the guy that can lock in backhand cross courts. Oh, I need to make 40 in a row. I can do that. I need to make 40 forehands in a row. I can do that. So kind of in a way like Rafa, he makes you work really hard for every point, and he's just such a clean ball striker and can just go toe to toe, with pretty much anyone in the world.
Well, just so you know, you played him 11 times and you lost 4. You won 4 and you lost 7.
All right,
It's not bad.
I wasn't prepared for that question. What did I say? 6? Those 2 and 6. Those 4 and 7.
Well, I'll tell you what you did. You blocked out the 7 you lost, mate. That's what you did.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, it's not a bad record against a very good player, and he was at his prime.
I'll
when
take
he
that.
played against. I'll take that.
Exactly.
All right, let's not laugh about this one because the Americans have been on fire. Let's face it, especially the guys over the clay court period. We've had some really good results, but the women have always done well. Look, Sloane, Stevens, Coco, Maddie Keys, of course, Serena, all the players. We've had some really. Kenin has made the final. Like we've had some really good runs in the women's. But the guys, I'm impressed. But let's start with number 3, of course, Coco Gauff. She just absolutely thrashes her opponent. Danielle Collins won in straight sets against another American dollhide. Taylor Fritz won. Tommy Paul won, and they all won fairly comfortably. Taylor lost the first set. Ben Shelton had a really good win over Hugo Gaston and Francis Tiafoe. Wow, could that win over 5 sets change his entire year?
Let's hope so. Like he's had a tough year, but that sometimes all it is, it's one win that can kind of like give you that spark to get you going. But look, you're talking about all the Americans, the men and the women are doing great. The women have always done great. The men, there were some years I played the French Open, and the men we went 1 for 11 in first round. But that tide's kind of changed. I feel like now we're 11-1, and these guys, you've got Taylor, Tommy Paul, Ben Shelton, TFO. I think we got Sebastian. Yeah, we've got a lot of great players now, and these guys, they won their matches today, but they've been doing well on the clay for the last 2 months. Shelton winning Houston, Fritz making a semifinal Masters Series, Tommy Paul making a semifinal in Masters Series. So they're going to start this piling on more wins, and we're going to see one of these guys is going to make a quarterfinal here at least, and hopefully a little more.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that one of these American guys, I think, can get to quarters or semis. I think they're playing well enough. I think that Taylor I think this court is a little bit different too. I think the French Open clay, as you know, is just so perfect and so great that you don't have it's not super heavy conditions, although the conditions have been woeful in the last couple of days.
Right.
It's been so cold. I mean, we have done it, right? We've been at the French where it's like blazing hot and the clay is like super dry and you have to water it like every 5 minutes just to keep it without the dust flying in your eyes. And then there's some times where it's so heavy and the balls get like a giant. And that's the way it's been really. We've had so much rain. So that certainly doesn't help the big hitting players. And I thought that that's the one thing that sucked really for Nadal when they closed the roof. That made it even harder for him to play against Zverev under the roof conditions. Yeah. I mean, everything changes. That it becomes heavier indoors as well. So just the conditions, like how much is that hurting them? And then, what chance do you give, hopefully, the guys if it gets a little bit warmer?
Yeah, look, these guys want warmer weather. The Americans, we want warmer weather where the clay's a little faster and the ball goes through the air. Having said that, Tommy Paul or Taylor Fritz and Ben Shelton and Francis Tiafoe, they're big, strong guys that can hit the ball really hard. So they can, hit the ball through the clay if it's moist and wet. But if they're gonna make runs to the quarterfinals, to the semifinals, we need the sun to come out. We need the roofs open. We need the clay fast. And so hopefully, I haven't looked at the weather forecast the next 10 days, but I'm hoping the sun's gonna come out. And we're gonna see what's gonna happen. But I do see second round we've got Ben Shelton versus Kei Nishikori, which is gonna be a fun one because Shelton's an offensive guy, huge serve. Nishikori, a little bit more of a counter puncher. So I don't know what the weather is gonna be like. Shelton's gonna want it hot so we can bring out the lefty 150 serve. But that's gonna be a fun match to watch.
I want to see Ben hit that kick serve on the first court to the forehand side, that one that will bounce away from Kei, because Kei's like my height. He's like 5'9", 5'10". I'm 5'10". I think he's round about my height. I just want to see him trying to get back that kicker, because I don't care who you are. If you're 5'10" and it's bouncing 6'5" over your head, you're not getting it back. So it'll be interesting to see how he varies his serve against Kei, because Kei is a great returner, but you got to get out of his hitting zone. So that's a good opportunity really for Ben, I think, to get through that match. And it'll be a fun match, as you said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be a great one, and I'm sure him and him and his dad are going to come up with a great game plan because, like you said, Kay is an incredible returner. He's going to have to mix that serve up quite a bit, but that's going to be one I'm tuned in for.
All right, everybody. Well, we are so excited to, of course, bring you all of this action over the next, we got about 12 days left of this whole thing. So the Roland Garros coverage continues across the networks of NBC, Peacock, and the Tennis Channel. The full TV schedule is on NBC.com, and it's right there for you to see right now. All day, every day. I feel like the French Open never ends right now with the night sessions. I feel like I'm watching it at 4 a.m. and I'm watching it at like 7 o'clock at night. Poor old Medvedev. We didn't even mention Medvedev. Again, finishes after midnight. That guy gets the worst draws, Sam. I'm telling you, look at all his draws. And our friend Andrea Pekovic has a theory of it. It's because he's the third-ranked player, and the third-ranked player always gets the worst draw because they always play after the top woman player often, so that he always gets second on. So poor old Medvedev, but he won in 4 sets last night, and it looked really cold. Okay, guys, let's last show, we asked you folks a question on the old X or Twitter. If Serena came back to the tour this year, where would you rank her on the WTA? This is after she put out a tweet that said, I'm ready to hit some balls. And if you want to read some of these responses, Sam, I would appreciate it.
Look, we've got still top 25. Her fitness is there, top 25 to top 50. I think everyone's there's more to the question. Does that mean she just stepped on the court right now and has never hit a ball where we should be? Or are we giving her 6 months of practice time? I'm going into this question and kind of saying, all right, let's assume you gave her 5 or 6 months of practice and training. If that was the case, I'm going to put her at 50 in the world, give or take. So I'm kind of agreeing here with all three of these answers we see on the screen, minus the last one. But yeah,
I kind of like
that. 50.
Yeah, I agree.
I kind of like that one.
I think she would be probably that, but as you said, she'd have to have a little bit of time to put in to be back on tour. But I liked Matt, his comment, love Serena, but no ranking. With all respect, her post looks like it's in reference to a new business venture rather than a return to the court. And Matt, I think you're right, because I get asked clearly this question a lot. Is she going to come back? And I'm like, hell no, she's not coming back.
Yeah, no way.
She's just doing her thing, being a mom, and dealing with her Serena Williams ventures, which is making a lot of money. All right, guys, very excited about this. Andy Roddick is going to join us on Thursday. Your old mate, Sam. I'm sure you've had lots of stories to tell us about Andy. I can't wait. So send us your questions for Andy, and we'll get them answered, of course, here. You can tweet at me, Rennae Stubbs, or Sam, you don't have Twitter. Do you have Twitter?
I don't have Twitter. I'm an Instagram guy.
You're smart. Okay. Or at NBC Sports. Guys, thanks so much for joining us once again here on the French Connection today, brought to you, of course, by Racket and NBC Sports, as I already said. Next episodes, we can't wait to drop next Thursday before we head out. Here's a question, though, for you, Sam, before we head out of here. Wow. Djokovic loses to Marshak 4-6, 6-love. I say differently. I would have said 4-6, 6-love, 1-6. But anyway, in the semifinals of Geneva in the 250 there, looked physically off throughout the match. Only the second time that he's bageled his opponents and lost the match. Sam, the question was supposed to not have the answer in it. But do you know who the last person was?
It was. I beat him in Bercy 2012. I remember his last term of the year. I was down 6-0, 2-0. I looked at my coach at the time. I was like, I want one game. I want one game and I want to go home. And then next thing you know, Novak, I'm not going to give myself the credit. Novak probably disengaged mentally and somehow let me back into the second set. And I won it somehow and then won the third. So, I guess myself and Maciek were part of an elite group there that lose a set 6-0 against Novak and still beat him.
I'm so pumped for you. I know you lost to Nadal earlier on in the conversation that we had, but you got that win over Novak Djokovic, arguably the greatest player of all time. All right, guys, thanks for joining Sam and I again today here on the French Connection. We can't wait to, of course, see you again on Thursday. We've got a lot more tennis to talk about with the one and only Andy Roddick. So get us your questions and we'll get him, not us, we'll get him to answer them. So thanks again for joining us today. Bye.